Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. My name's Molly. I do book content here on YouTube. I do a mixture of Christian and non-Christian books, a mixture of fiction and non-fiction. So if you like what you've seen today, please do stay and subscribe. Yeah, I thought I wasn't going to film today because I pre-filmed a couple of videos, which I think you will probably have seen at least one of them before this one. But it is a gorgeous day. The sun's out, there's blue sky and clouds. Fantastic for filming. I'm not having to use, lights in the ceiling or lamps. So I thought I would take the opportunity and film a video today. So today I am doing the end of year book tag, the official one where you go through a few questions about the past year basically. So yes, I know loads of people do it, so don't think you tag anyone. So I'm just gonna get started really. So yes, there are 22 questions. It's a lot of questions, so that's going to be fun. Yeah, we'll see how long this video takes. It will probably be a long one, so you may want to get yourself a drink and a snack, maybe if you wanted. You don't have to, of course, but yeah. Okay, so question 1. What is your most disappointing read of the year? Now, I don't really have, well, I guess I do have a disappointing read. To be perfectly honest, I think the most disappointing one, okay, well, there's a disappointing one for me personally, and then there's a couple of disappointing ones, but I shouldn't be surprised. So the ones where I shouldn't be surprised and I have actually got rid of, so I can't show you them, I will put pictures up. I think normally they're on this side when I edit, but either way, one of these sides. And one of them is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I read that and gave that 3.5 stars. That's one of the most ones. Mainly because I mean the writing was good. I enjoyed it enough where I gave it 3.5 stars. But I don't know. I thought it would have been. I just didn't get the feeling that I have gotten with other romance or romantic comedy authors, like say Sarah Adams, for example. She's also spicier as well, Emily Henry. So there's like more, I think, technically sort of open door scenes, or certainly near enough where it may as well be classified as an open door scene. And that's not why I gave it less stars, although that is, well, it is, but the mainly disappointing bit is that I just found it difficult. Some of the characters, I couldn't remember who they were. Like obviously not the main couple or anything like the main ones, but there were other people that have been mentioned and I couldn't remember who they were, and I couldn't imagine them in my mind when they first introduced them and stuff like that. So that was disappointing. Then there was also Six Scorched Roses by Carissa Broadbent. That was a prequel novella to a series that she writes. I can't remember what the series is. I picked that up as a prompt for, I can't remember, the prompt was for a new release for 2024 for Katie's Journey Through the Bible readathon that I was doing. And that I gave 3/3.5 stars, mainly because I enjoyed it, but there was 2 open door scenes and one of them was just unnecessary. Well, neither of them were that necessary really, but the first one was so short that I could easily skip it. But the other one, whilst easily skippable, it was like a few pages long, And when you're reading a novella where it's a really short story, it was over 100 pages, but it wasn't much, like maybe 150, if that, or a little bit over. So when you have that much, in my opinion, like 3 to 4 pages of an open door scene, I think is quite unnecessary. I skipped it, and I didn't lose anything for the rest of the story, so it was basically completely unnecessary. So that was what disappointed me. It was just, yeah, I should have expected it, I guess, with it being a mainstream book, but still. Sarah Adams is mainstream, and she doesn't necessarily have open door scenes, or at least not that I've read so far. I've only read 3 of her books, so yeah. And then the last disappointment, which is more of a personal disappointment, is Stardust by Neil Gaiman, the book. I was really disappointed in that one because I am so used to the film version that I just kept comparing them both. Now, I gave it 4 stars because I knew, as the book, if you just reading the book for the book's sake, like, it's a really great book. But I just preferred the film, and so I was disappointed because there were things that I love in the film that weren't in the book. Now, I wasn't necessarily expecting it all to be the same or anything, because obviously most films aren't when they're adaptations of books. Not all, of course, but a lot of them, or at least there are differences. So I knew that, because obviously that happens all the time, but I don't know, it just wasn't as funny, the book, whereas the film is, in my opinion, absolutely hilarious. So yeah, I would say that one for me personally, Stardust, is the biggest disappointment. But they all kind of blend in. Okay, number 2, Underdog Book of the Year. Now, I don't know what counts as an underdog, because I just think it's all personal opinions about books. So I don't really know. Let me just... Did I have an underdog? Oh, I just realised I have Stardust here. I could have just filmed it with that. But yeah, there we go. I'll just put a picture up. No point refilming all of that. Yeah, I don't really have an underdog. Not for a particular book. It's more of an underdog author, and I wouldn't necessarily call him an underdog, really. Because also I don't really keep an eye on, like, popular books. I've watched more of the, like, ones that are about to come out in this last year, but that's only because people I've watched have posted them, and most of the time I'm like, oh, those books sound good, and then I just kind of forget about them. I don't really write them down. So for that, I don't know, and then that doesn't necessarily mean I've read them. So, I don't really have an underdog book of the year. I'm just trying to think. Because also it's different being part of Christian BookTube, as well as the fact that I read mainstream books as well. So, yeah. I mean, I guess the only one that kind of counts as an underdog is the fact that I read a book from that author that I was alluding to. But I don't necessarily know if it's an underdog book. But that was The Prince of Mist, which I don't have with me. That's downstairs. And that's by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. But again, it's not necessarily because I think the book is an underdog type of, like, book in terms of what people think. It's more about the author, the fact that I don't really hear much about him, even though he's had, like, millions of copies sold or whatever it was, I can't remember. So yeah, I'm not really counting The Prince of Mist, but I sort of am. Question 3, a book that was overhyped. I'm gonna have to probably say Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I just wasn't as excited about it like a lot of other people are, certainly about Emily Henry's books. So I would probably say that one. Yeah, I could also possibly put Stardust for that. but I wouldn't necessarily say Stardust is overhyped because I don't hear about it all the time or anything, so I'll stick with book lovers, but again, that's more the author, really, to be fair. This next question is going to be a difficult one. Fave book couple or couples of the year? I have a few, so this is going to take a minute. So one of my favourite book couples is Joe and, oh no, what is his name? Her husband. Bear, what's his name? Bear. Is it Franz? What does it say? I can't remember his name, but Mr. Bear, who is the who becomes Joe's husband, he's the one that she meets when she goes to wherever the big city is, when she goes and does teaching and studying and writing, and she meets him at the boarding house type place that she's staying in. Basically him. I love them. I think they're a lovely couple. They suit each other really well. And I just love their relationship and their dynamics, and yeah. So they're one of my favourite couples. And another favourite couple is Annie and Will from Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. I love their dynamic as well. It's partly because I kind of relate to Annie in quite a few ways. So there's kind of that. Obviously I can't relate to the relationship bit because I am single. But yes, but I do like them together. I think he seems really nice, and you know, they seem to suit each other, and some swoony moments, of course, with it being a romance. So I really enjoy them. My further up favourites, if you can count that as being a thing, is the couple in the cheat sheet. What are their names? Oh, Bree and Nathan. I love them. I had the whole squealing, kicking my feet moments with this book. I think they're lovely. I think they're friends to the child. Well, I don't think they were quite that young, but they were they were in school when they met and became friends. So like friends to lovers, basically. And there's also a fake dating trope as well. So, you know, two tropes that I really enjoy, and especially the fake dating bit. And yes, they're both secretly in love with each other, and you get both the points of view. So yeah, I love them. And then there's also the couples in a couple of Georgette Heyer books or Heyer books. The couple in The Convenient Marriage, and that is Horatia and the Earl of Rule. I can't remember his name now. Edward? Is his name? No, that's a different character. Oh, I can't remember his name. But the Earl of Rule and Horatia, I love their dynamics. I love the main character, Horatia, she has a stutter, and I love his reaction to that. Basically, it's a positive one. You know, he's like, you know, he likes it, sort of thing, and I like that. I've not really read anything with people who stutter before. Although, interestingly, I've had two books in the same month where people were stuttering. There was this one, and I think it was The Prince of Mist, or something else. It might have been a different book. Anyway, completely different tangent. I love them. It's so funny. I love the male main character, the love interest, because as the title suggests, The Convenient Marriage, it was a marriage of convenience. But I love their dynamics. I love the character, and yeah, swoony moments of him. I just love him. Yes. And then I also love the main couple in Friday's Child by Georgette Heyer as well. This is Hero and Lord Sheringham, whose name I can't remember as well. I love them as well, their dynamics. I also love the pet name that he gives her, which is Kitten. I know some people don't like that, but I quite liked it. But you know, things like that are all personal, aren't they? So, but I love their dynamics as well. There's probably other favourite couples, but I can't think of any. But yeah. Question 5. Your favourite main character or main characters of the year? And again, I'm going to have to repeat the same people, I guess. I do love Anne from Anne of Green Gables. I don't have... Yeah, oh, wait, no. I have this copy nearby. Anne of Green Gables, she's definitely favourite main character for me as well. I also... Yeah, that's about it, really. I do also love the characters. I do also love the two main characters in this series, the A Murder Most Unladylike Mystery by Robin Stevens. I do love the dynamics of Daisy and Hazel, who are the two main characters, and I love their dynamics. I love how they're growing and having different relationships with each other in terms of as they grow older and experience different things. As friends, by the way. But I love them. Yeah, so they're definitely favourite main characters as well. Yeah, I often enjoy most of the main characters in most of the books that I read, so far anyway. So they're all, in that respect, my favourites. So yeah, it doesn't really narrow anything down. Okay, 6. A book that surprised you. And there isn't really a book that surprised me, because I don't really necessarily go in with many, if any, expectations before going in. I guess the nearest to that is discovering biblical fiction. I never knew it was a thing. I'm very new to Christian fiction, so my only knowledge about Christian books was non-fiction stuff. So I would probably say maybe biblical fiction, and in particular, because I've only read one so far, that would have been The Mark of the Lion, book 1 from that trilogy by Francine Rivers. That is A Voice in the Wind. I think that one is probably a book that surprised me. Other than that, I don't think there's anything else. Okay, right, where was I? Oh yes, but that surprised me. So yeah, biblical fiction, A Voice in the Wind by Francine Rivers specifically, because that's the only one I've read so far. And the other one I read in 2024. Okay. Question 7. New favourite author discovered in 2024. And I've had quite a few. I've had some of the classic authors like Ellen Montgomery and Louisa May Alcott, because I never read them, so they count as definitely new favourite authors. There's also Francine Rivers. She's a new author that I discovered, who's definitely a fave. Pepper Basham as well. Georgia Hire, did I read Friday's Child this year or last year? Well, 2024, I mean. Okay, yeah, that was this year. So yeah, Georgia Hire or Haya as well. She's definitely a new favourite author, because I only started reading her books this year. And again, I've only read 2 of those. Yeah, there's probably other authors, I just can't think of them at the moment. Yeah, so they're definitely some favourites. Question 8. Happiest read of the year. And I don't quite know what that means. Is that something that's considered a happy book? Or is that something that makes me happy? Both? I'm not sure. So, what I'm going to do is probably go off how I have felt reading them in terms of the happiest book. But to be honest, most of my books, because this is going to be difficult, most of my books are either, have a mix of emotions, or they're like mysteries. So I wouldn't necessarily call them happy reads, but they're not unhappy necessarily either. I would probably say the nearest to happiest reads is probably things like this, like romantic comedies, because at least the ones that I've read last year, because it's 2025 when I'm filming this now, they've been quite light-hearted, whilst they might tackle some bits. Maybe as a whole they've been happy, and they've made me happy. Like I have said with the cheat sheet by Sarah Adams, I was like kicking my feet, giggling and stuff like that. So yeah, I would probably say those types of things, but a lot of my books I would probably say would be on that realm anyway. So yeah. Question 9. Most frustrating book of the year. I don't know what's considered I don't think I really have a frustrating book. I guess maybe the nearest one is possibly Her Majesty the Queen Investigates, Murder Most Royal, which I read in December. Maybe that one, because I didn't quite get how they would try to connect the clues to what was going on. Like, they just didn't exist in my head. I was like really confused. But I wouldn't necessarily say I was frustrated though. But it's certainly the nearest. Yeah, I would probably say those two. Yeah. Okay, question 10. Best adaptation of the year. Of course, right, that's what it was. Okay, so I've not read many books where I have watched the adaptations. I know Anne of Green Gables does have films and TV shows, but I've not watched them. Certainly not this year anyway. And the only other books I've read that have had films or TV shows about them are Little Women, A Christmas Carol, and Stardust. Although I don't think I watched Little Women this last year. I don't think I did. I'm not going to count Little Women because I don't remember watching it in 2024. So what I think I'm going to do is pick the Stardust film. I think that's the best adaptation. I do love Christmas Carol. I watched the Muppets version during the Christmas December season and month. But I think the Stardust film is better in my opinion. I just found it was funnier. That's the only reason why it's better. They're both really good films. So yeah, I think the best adaptation for me last year was Stardust. Question 11. The longest book you have read this year. Now, one book I will have read, I did read, and that's the Bible. That's definitely the longest book technically, because that's like over 1,000 pages. So other than that, in terms of like fictional sort of books that aren't to do with the Bible, or at least not necessarily, I would say is Dracul by J.D. Barker and Dakra Stoker. This is a prequel for Dracula, as I'm sure you can guess from the title. I read this in October to November. I don't think I finished it in October. So yeah, I read this, and this is if you want to include the author's notes, where it talks about how they put the book together, because that's really interesting. So not including the author's note, which has a lot of information which is incredibly interesting. This book is 563 pages. But if you want to include the author's note, because I did read that myself, because that had like talked about how they found Bram Stoker's notes and how they used the notes to talk about, to put the book together, basically, this book. So including those notes, we had 591 pages, so nearly 600 pages. So I would say this is probably the longest book. I have read other quite thick books, but I don't know how many pages they are, and I'm pretty sure this is probably the thickest. Certainly fictional book anyway. There is a book that may have been... Anyway, Drackle. I'm going to pick Drackle. That's the longest book I read this last year. And the 12th question is one just like the previous one. The shortest book you have read this year. Now, I've read 2 really short books, but I think the shortest book that I have read is A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, because this is like 80 odd pages. Yeah, it's 85 pages for the main story. So I would say this is the longest book, not longest, the shortest book that I have read this year. Question 13. Your favourite cover or covers of the year? Now, there'll be so many I can't count. So I'm not going to be able to show you all of my favourite book covers, because it's just not, we'll be here forever. So, I really liked the Drackle one. I think it's really creepy, and also what I thought was really cool is that this little window here where the tower is, if you open the cover page, you can see, ooh, he's on the other page. Look at that. So that was really cool. I thought that was a really cool design. And then another one that I really liked the cover of was Stardust. Despite what was in it, I loved the cover. I think it's really cool with that ship flying in the sky with the clouds. It gave me quite wintry, Christmassy vibes, even though it's clouds, so it's not, it's not snow. But it just had that sort of wintry, autumn vibes. There's quite a few. The next one I'll talk about is just a general style, and it's this style, which is the Virago Modern Classics. Yeah, I have a few books in this style. I've got the whole Little Women series, which is all 4 books, and then I think I have all of the Anne of Green Gables in the same Modern Classic style, or at least it's in the same group. It might not be the same style of drawing. I don't know. But anyway, the Virago Modern Classic selection, anyway, are what I bought these and the Anne of Green Gables for. So those are definitely some favourite covers. I also really like this one from Practice Makes Perfect. I love all the pink and white and all the flowers. It's so springy. I think I read this in the spring. And yeah, I just love that. I think that's lovely. Yeah, one from this past year that I also love the cover of is the Brothers Grimm book selection. I know I've used this for something else, a different video where I talk about a favourite cover or a beautiful cover, I think. So I would say this, I really like the style of artwork, and there's also pictures inside as well in the same style. So there you go, there's one. And I really like it. I think it really adds to the whole Brothers Grimm vibes. Because I know they're often used as quite like a creepy gothic sort of style. Certainly how I've always thought of them anyway. So I would probably say that as well. But I mean, there's so many beautiful covers. I mean, you could literally, and it's all personal as well, and they're all beautiful and my favourite covers for different reasons. Some of them just look aesthetically beautiful, and then some of them I just think are beautiful maybe because they're simple, or who knows. And then some of them I think are beautiful because of the season, like the Christmas season. There's some beautiful covers for those. So yeah, I've got quite a lot. I usually try and cover buy if I can, because I'm limited to what space I have. So when I'm buying a book, I try and look for books where I really like the cover and I think they're beautiful and stuff like that, so then I'm not necessarily hopefully buying multiple copies. If I have my own place, or I, have a Beauty and the Beast moment where, my love interest goes, hey, look, a library for you, maybe then I'll have multiple copies of certain books that are beautiful. But until that happens, which it probably never will, certainly the latter bit, we're just going to stick with that. Okay, 14. A book you haven't stopped thinking about. Now, there's a few of those. It's not a book specifically, but more the series as a whole, and that's the Little Women series. I'm often thinking about that because I love the faith content in it and how they kind of adapt it for young children as well and young people. I think it's a lovely way of doing it. So that's definitely one. What else can I stop thinking about? I often can't stop thinking about Dracula, but not necessarily much. Well, it's hard to explain. I'm not necessarily thinking about the whole story. Sometimes it comes into my head. I'm like, oh, that was such an interesting book. I love stuff like that. Because it talks about how, vampires might possibly be real, sort of thing. And it's like, ooh, just tickles my fancy, that sort of thing, What else can I not stop thinking about? I mean, if you want to talk about not being able to stop thinking, I regularly can't stop thinking about God's word. I'm always thinking about that, or certainly about God and stuff like that. So the Bible is definitely one of those that I can't stop thinking about. Just trying to think if there's any others I can't stop thinking about. I would also say I can't stop thinking about the first Mark of the Lion book, A Voice in the Wind, because it's the only one I've read. So sometimes I'm thinking about that as well. It just depends. Sometimes something reminds me of a particular book, so then I'm thinking about it. So it varies. And then sometimes it's because it's quite recent, so it's still in my mind. So, yeah. Okay. Question 15. Cringiest book you've read this year. And I have to say I don't really have any that I think were the cringiest. Not really. I think the nearest is probably the romance books because there's often, tropes. But I wouldn't necessarily say it was cringy, at least not the ones that I've read. So yeah, I don't really have the cringiest book that I have read, really. Yeah. No. Question 16. An unpopular book that you loved. And I have to say again, I don't really, because I don't keep up with trends or, with popular / unpopular books. I don't necessarily know if I've read anything that's unpopular that I have loved myself. If anything, it's more the opposite, with things like Book Lovers by Emily Henry. So, yeah, I don't really have anything like that. At least not that I'm aware of, anyway. Yeah. Okay. Question 17. The highest and lowest Goodreads rated books that you've read this year. Now, I don't have Goodreads, and I'm filming on my phone, so I can't actually check. And it would take me ages to figure out all of the books that I've read last year, to find out what they were rated on Goodreads, and then choose which one was the highest and lowest of the ones I have read. So, what I'm going to do instead is tell you what my personal ratings were for the highest and lowest. Now, that does mean I'm going to have some that are the same rating. So, yeah. And just so you know, I won't be including any non-fiction that I have read, or the one book of short stories that I read, because those are the non-fiction. It's difficult because it's not an entertainment thing necessarily, so it's, you know, I don't always give them high stars because they're not, it's just not applicable sort of thing. So there's that. And then there's also a book that I read in March last year, and that was contemporary Latin American short stories. And so as the name suggests, it's short stories, but they're all from different authors. So I gave that one a 3, and that's as a whole. There were some stories that I really enjoyed, others that were okay. So I kind of gave it like an average rating of about 3. So I'm not counting that one either. So let me just have a look. Okay, so I'm going to, one of them I'm going to include, but I did have kind of 2-ish ratings, and then there's a couple that are just a whole star sort of thing. So one of the lowest rated ones that I read was the number 2 Feline Detective Agency, and that is by Mandy Morton. I gave that one 3 stars. That is a cozy mystery. It was okay, but that's one of my lowest. The next one, which is a 3, was the Her Majesty the Queen Investigates Murder Most Royal. That I gave 3 stars. And then a couple of them, one of them, was I gave 2 ratings. And that was 6 Scorched Roses by Carissa Broadbent. And that I gave 3 or 3.5 because I wasn't quite sure. Because like the main story was really good, but the open door scenes kind of knocked a star off. So yeah, I would say those were my lowest. My highest, now there is quite a few. I've done quite a lot of 5 stars, but I did give some where I gave more than 5 stars. So, you know, I will probably tell you those, and I will probably go with the highest. So I didn't go higher than 10. But I do have quite a few of those. Although I have to say, I think looking back on some of them, I think they might have been more like a 4 or 5 star really. But I was quite new to actually rating books. I've only really done it properly this past 1.5 years. So, yeah. So I'm going to go with the ones I gave a 10, basically. So there's Snow and Rose by Emily Winfield Martin. I gave that a 10. Then I gave Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte 10. Now, the book that I initially gave a 10 was Anxious People by Frederick Backman. That I gave 10, but I think really I would probably give that more like a 4, maybe a 5 star really. But I was it was just not spur at the moment, but yeah, it's kind of one of those where initially it was quite high, but then like, as time went on. The next 10 I gave was the first Anne of Green Gables book by Ellen Montgomery. Then there is Jane and Edward by Melody Edwards. I gave a 10 star, and that is a Jane Eyre retelling in modern times. I also gave When in Rome by Sarah Adams a 10, because I really enjoyed that. And then I gave Anne of Avonlea 10 stars as well, Ellen Montgomery again. And then I did Nevermore, The Trials of Morrigan Crow by Jessica Townsend. That's a middle grade, fancy-ish. It's like magic. A lot of people compared it to like a more modern sort of similar to Harry Potter. And I do agree there are some bits in the first book anyway that are taken from the Harry Potter books in different ways. Then I did Good Wives by Louisa May Alcott. I gave that a 10. I don't know why I didn't do Little Women. Did I read that last year? Oh, that's why, right. I read Little Women in 2023. That's why that's not on here, I think. Okay. Then I gave The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams 10. And then I gave And the So Far Blue by Francine Rivers a 10. And then A Voice in the Wind by Francine Rivers, which is the first book in the Mark of the Lion series. I gave that a 10. I also gave that a 5. But really it's more of a 10. Is that it now? Yeah, that was it. So those were all my 10-star books. My highest rated ones. So that's good. And then I gave loads like 5 stars and stuff as well. But I just kept with the 10s. Because we'll be here all day if I went through all the 5 stars as well. Okay. Question 18. Favourite quotes of the year. I don't really have any favourite quotes of the year. Most of the time I don't remember quotes. So, yeah, I don't have any. So there you go. Yeah. Question 19. Book with the most unique concept. And I've got a couple. So I've got, the first one is Stardust, because I'd never, like, with the film and the book, I never had read or seen anything like that before, so, well, I wouldn't say it's that unique, actually. It was unique to me, personally. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a unique concept in general, though. But the other book that I really thought was a unique concept was The Starless Sea, and this is by Erin Morgenstern. This is a mainstream fiction as well, and yeah, this one was really unique because it's kind of story within stories, and it's all connected. It's like fantasy but set in real life as well. I think they call that magical realism, but I don't know for sure, certainly in terms of this book. But there are definitely things in this that I've not read before. There's like an underground library type place, and there's like doors to other times, and yeah, there's a lot of different things in this. And there's a lot in this, which is why I'm being quite vague, because one, there might be spoilers, but also two, I don't really remember because it was a lot. It was quite intense in a few ways. I think it's kind of, not necessarily in the topics, but just I think in the world building type thing, just in general as a whole with the book. But yeah, it was really interesting, and I really enjoyed it. So yeah. Yeah, I would say those were the only ones with the most unique concept that I've read anyway. Question 20. A book that you have read that you would reread. Again, I've got a few. So one of them is A Christmas Carol. That would be like a seasonal reread. And the same in terms of rereads, I would also say this book, which I've not talked about in this video. So you've got the book to go with you. And that is A Holiday by Gaslight by Mimi Matthews. This again is a really short book. It's just a novella. And I really enjoyed reading this. I loved the romance, and it was swoony, and I could relate to the main female character as well. So this is definitely a potential reread for me. And then I would probably say, just in general, probably like the Little Women series and Anne of Green Gables. Especially the Anne of Green Gables, not necessarily because I want to reread it, but I am joining in with Chantel's Year of Maud, which obviously is to do with Ellen Montgomery, the author. So we're kind of going through a few of the first Anne of Green Gables books, as well as some other books that Ellen Montgomery has written. So I will be having 3 rereads in the year for that, and that'll be the first 3 Anne of Green Gables books. So there's those as well. They might end up being rereads in general for me, I don't know, but they certainly will be for this year at least. I would say that's probably it, because I tend not to reread books. Shorter books like the novellas, I'm probably more likely to because they're shorter. But otherwise, but that doesn't necessarily mean I would then either. Because I find there's so many books, just personally, that I have, but also in general, in the world, that I've not read, that I find that I don't really want to reread most books, usually. So, yeah, I would say those. There is also another book that I did want to reread, but I didn't get to. But that wasn't a book I read last year in 2024, so I'm not counting that one. Okay, question 21. Reading goal reflection and your 2025 reading goals. So, I kind of already talked about this in my 2025 goals, so I can link that whole video down below if you want. But at the beginning of 2024, I set the goal to read 48 books in 2024. Now, I haven't counted this yet properly, so let's do that now. Okay, so I read 57 books in 2024, and those are the books that I have read and finished. There are 2 books that I had started last year but I have not finished, therefore I am not counting those. So 57 books, that's nearly 10 more than my original goal, which is fantastic. I don't have like a record of how many books I've read in a year for more than just this year. I did start in 2023, but I only started in July. Therefore, I'm not counting those because that's only about 6 months of that year. So just from this 1 year of reading, I have read 57 books, which is like incredible. I've never really kept track before, so like as a child or anything like that, I just read books. I didn't think about it. So it was only when I was doing things like the library challenges where you had to read certain amount of books in the summer holidays sort of thing. So yeah, 57 books is amazing. And in my other video, I gave you my goals in my whole goals video, and my goal for 2025 is to read 60 books, which isn't much more than what I read last year. So I'm hoping I will beat that, or at least, get 60 is what I mean, at least. So that's going to be really interesting to find out. I'm also not that sort of person, by the way, at least hopefully for now, where I get het up about it if I don't reach my goals. I just think it's a bit of fun, so it's interesting to see how many I read, because it can depend from month to month, week to week, year to year, how busy anyone is, and what we're going through in life. I might not be feeling like doing much reading, so, I try not to, be too strict on myself, because I still want to enjoy reading. So, I'm trying to not make it work. I'm trying to make it fun instead of, work in a bad way. Work isn't all, can be really fun and great, but I just mean work isn't like, oh, I don't want to do this. So that's what I do not want to happen. So yeah, we shall see. Question 22. What are you prioritising reading-wise in 2025? So, what am I prioritising? That's a good question. It'll vary month to month. I do have yearly challenges that I am joining in with. So, in that respect, I'll be prioritising those. as well as any readathons that I decide to take part in as well. I do have goals of reading certain authors, or at least more of them. So, yeah. So like I'll be reading more of Ellen Montgomery because I'm doing the Year of Maud. I also want to get into some Agatha Christie. So I would like to try out some more of her books. But there's also like more Francine Rivers books that I want to read, and Pepper Basham. I would like to try and prioritise more Christian fiction if I can. But I will always read secular mainstream as well. So there'll always be a mixture, but I would love to try more Christian fiction basically. So that will be fun. Yeah, I can't really think of anything else. Yeah, that's about it. So yeah, those are all the questions for my end of the year book tag. I hope you've enjoyed. I hope I've not bored you to death. Because I know this isn't edited yet, to be fair, and so far I am coming up to 1 hour of filming. So that's going to be fun. So yes, I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you want to do this end of year tag as well. Please do. Film it if you want, or you can tell me a few of the questions, the answers to the questions. Not necessarily to all of them unless you want to. If you want to join in, but you just want to do it on the comments. Or anywhere else even. I mean, you could probably do it on Instagram or somewhere else if you wanted. It's up to you. But yeah, I will try and remember to write the questions down below. I've not always remembered to do that in a lot of my tag videos recently. So I'll try and remember to do that again. Yeah. And that's about it. I hope you enjoyed. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. If you enjoy my content, please like this video and leave a comment as well. Let me know what your goals are for this year, or if you've already done a video, let me know and I'll give it a watch if I haven't already, of course, because I know a lot of you commenting I already watch your videos, so that works out quite nicely. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'm really hungry. Okay, right, I'm going to leave you, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.